Hello, hello. So this is week 57 in Intuitive Momentum Fitness, and we're talking about nutrition today. And I know that there's got to be some dread with this subject because there's just a lot of energetic attachment to what we eat or don't eat, and so it can be nerve-wracking and stressful to talk about food, but also it can be emotional and all that as well. So we'll try to be gentle with it. I'm going to start off with what I recommend for how to approach making changes with food and the importance of listening to your body primarily for feedback, and then we'll get to some specifics. But first, I want to share that I finished a draft of my book, sent it to the editor. Just had a meeting with her a couple hours ago, going over what my expectations are for her and the flavor of editing and all of that stuff. So I'm super excited about that. Really just kind of in awe of actually getting to this moment. So yeah, trying to take it in, trying to celebrate, and yeah, just kind of like my coach, my therapist yesterday was reminding me that I get to say I'm the author of the upcoming book, Fitness for Empaths, and I did decide to change the title of the book. For years and years and years, I was going to call it Keeping Fitness Simple. And I do like that name. It's kind of like the essence of what I try to communicate, but I'm really targeting empaths and people who have experienced trauma and those who are struggling with multiple health issues. So I think I want to be more specific in the title and share specifically how I changed my health as an empath, someone who didn't have the advantages that other people have in improving their health because of all of the health issues that I had. Hey Danielle, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, so got that process started, and excited to see what happens next as I go. So yeah, I'm thinking that I'm excited to start my next book, and then my therapist is going to be helping me create some structure for coaching offerings and stuff like that. So I'm excited. A lot of things in the mix, in the works. So yeah, I want to jump right in and get to your comments, and then we'll dive into nutrition stuff. So Nadi says, I will tune in and take notes. The laugh cry emoji. Lots of emotional attachment to food. It's my drug of choice. It goes back to infancy, I kid you not. My mom used banana baby food to soothe me when I was upset. It's amazing how that happens. I do find that I'm beginning the process of detachment right now. I do, however, love chocolate, and fun fact is chocolate is an excellent way to ground after doing some intense spiritual work or meditation. I know that sounds funny, but it's seriously important. So yes, here for notes and move in the direction of balance. Excited to hear about what works for everyone. Thank you, Kyler, and everyone. So yeah, that's if you ever read Harry Potter, chocolate was the remedy for recovering from Dementor attack. So yeah, that I think there must be something to that as medicine. That's cool. So thank you for sharing, Nadi. Yeah, this is something that is so vital, and I will go over why it's so vital, but so we can't really avoid talking about it, especially if we want some major changes and we are experiencing some health issues. So however that looks, we have to look at it closer. So Danielle, you say, 9 years ago I had symptoms of MS. Fortunately, I found the right doctor in the end, telling me my primary problem was gluten. If that new lifestyle wasn't challenging enough, I recently added reactive hypoglycemia. Wow. Now I need to eat protein every 2 hours around the clock to avoid headaches, nausea, extreme sudden weakness, and dizziness. For me, it's not so much yo-yo cleansing, but yo-yo eating. It's tough to find a yummy protein throughout each day. I feel like a child who always needs a snack. Yeah, I get that. When I first started with when I first found out I had hypothyroid and hypoadrenia, and I needed to look at how do I connect with that. Hey, Nadi, good to see you. Needed to address that more. I was encouraged to eat every 2 hours, and that was really, really helpful. And I didn't realize then how important protein and fat were, but now I'm able to go 4 or 5 hours between meals and feel no interest in snacking, no need to snack throughout the day. So I'm grateful for that. But for quite a few years, I was extremely diligent about eating every 2 hours, and I kind of wish there was a way to go back with what I know now of my body and the way I've experimented to see if doing certain things sooner would have made more of a difference. But the journey is the journey, and we have to trust ourselves along the way, the journey. So good job, Danielle. Eating every 2 hours, that's not easy. And yeah, hopefully you are feeling able to feel stable as you go about your day and able to find all the protein snacks that you need. I know that can be tricky. I don't know if you are allergic to eggs. Eggs are like an amazing, perfect balance of protein and fat, but it's also in the category of the 5 most common allergens. Thankfully, I'm not allergic to eggs, and I've eaten tons of eggs for decades now. So that's always, and I never get tired of it, thankfully. I just love eggs, so that's really, really helpful. Yes, eggs are so good. Awesome. Very, very good. So yeah, why is nutrition important, and why is it so challenging? It's interesting. If you talk to different people in the medical profession, they tend to discount nutrition and food as either a problem or a benefit for anything, which is very strange. So that's great, Danielle, that you found that doctor that was in tune with that, because that's not always the case. But if you look at the body, the body is replacing cells continually. Like the skin, all the skin cells in your entire body are brand new every 2 weeks. White blood cells, like every 5 days, I think. Red blood cells, somewhere around that. Connective tissue is going to be similar to that. The organs are going to be every 2 to 3 months are completely replaced. And the bones are every 7 to 10 years. Some say every 5 to, hey Lori, good to see you. Bones are every 5 to 10 years, somewhere in there. So basically every 5 to 10 years, you are a completely new cellular person, cellular human. And so where is the body getting the material to build your new cells? Well, it's primarily from what you eat, if what you eat has the nutrient density that it needs. So nutrient density obviously is a critical factor. And when you eat something, it's going to be starting to absorb as soon as it's in your mouth. So aspects of it are getting into your bloodstream through through the glands in your mouth, and then obviously as it's digesting, going through the stomach and the intestines, the body is pulling out nutrients. So it has the capacity to affect you right away, which is why if you're allergic to something, you have a pretty immediate reaction to it. And your body is going to war with it. So every time you eat, there's going to be things that are really good for you and things that are not so great for you in the food, even if it's just like, something that you didn't want to be in there, whether that's like someone's hair or a sneeze or something like that, like, something you didn't intend to eat, like your body still has to deal with it. So even if your food is, what you thought was perfect, then your body still may have to deal with something that came through. So now the human body is amazing. It is, glad you like that, Nadi. The human body is always doing the best it can with the resources that it has and the circumstances it finds itself in. So just because someone hit the genetic lottery and has a really, really good health, and they can get away with eating junk food every day of their life, doesn't necessarily mean that junk food is good for them. So this is, I feel like, an important thing to pay attention to when someone is telling you what to eat or what not to eat, more particularly kind of giving permission to eat stuff. Because not everyone has to be careful about what they eat. And I've seen a lot of fitness influencers on Instagram in particular talking about being balanced and kind of like they eat whatever they want because they work out and because it's good for their mental health and they don't want to obsess about things. And I understand that, but they also obviously seem to not have immediate consequences for eating the wrong thing. Like, I've known I was allergic to sugar since I was 17, and that explains so much of what I'd already experienced. And so there were very serious real world consequences if I ate the wrong thing. And it wasn't a matter of, having balance in order to not be an extremist. No, I wanted to feel good, and so I wanted to know what was causing problems for me, and I wanted to stop eating that. And so I've not had sweets like most of my life. That would be 24 years ago. No, not EpiPen. So mild allergic reaction. So I'd feel weak and quivery in my muscles. I would feel depressed. I'd feel nauseous. I'd get a headache. I would have trouble focusing my eyes. I wouldn't be able to remember what I was saying. And I just had this overwhelming sense of impending doom, and I wanted to go to sleep and never wake up. So that was the mild allergic reaction that I had to sugar. So it was all the symptoms that I already regularly had of fatigue, but it was like if I wanted to instantly have all of the symptoms I ever had because regularly with my fatigue, if I had sugar, that would give me all the worst symptoms immediately, and it would last for about 12 hours. So and because of that extreme sensitivity to sugar, the mild allergic reaction to after every cookie. So there are like factors, like if I had dinner and it was mostly protein and then I had a cookie, it wouldn't be as bad as if I was hungry and had a cookie. So there's levels of it. But once I realized that the shitty way I felt all the time could be avoided, or could be made worse by having sugar, then I didn't want to have sugar. And so I was not tempted to, let's see how much I can handle. I just didn't want it. I'd rather feel good. So yeah, that's like gluten for you. Yeah, totally. But what I didn't realize for a long time was that if you think of the spectrum, you've got sugar on one end and protein on the other end. And kind of what this spectrum is like sugar gets into the bloodstream really fast because there's really not much to digest. And then protein takes a long time because there's a lot there. It's very nutrient dense. So it's going to be more sustainable energy for a long period of time without any spikes or drops. So because I was allergic to sugar, I was also sensitive to carbs. And that's the thing I didn't realize for a really long time, was how sensitive I was to carbs. And I didn't realize the importance of protein for myself. And so I was including protein, but not emphasizing protein. And then I was including carbs because I thought I needed to have balance, and then not realizing that there wasn't any more nutrients in the carbs than what I was already getting in the protein. And so I was only kind of getting a less quality nutrient source here in the carbs, and some of the milder effects of sugar, because carbs turn to sugar quicker than fats or proteins. Yeah, so from a spiritual perspective, it sounds like you benefit from what raises your vibration. That makes sense. Yeah, that's cool. That's good. Yeah, so I could feel, I began to notice that I would test it. I would like read the ingredients and then test it. Like certain protein bars had different amounts of sugar in it, like grams per serving. And I began to notice initially that if I had anything that had more than 7 grams of sugar per serving, that's total, whether that was from fruit or whatever other source, then I could feel it as soon as it was in my mouth. My body was so in tune with it, and I was so dialed into how my body felt that I could tell just from how it tasted, the first bite tasted in my mouth, whether it had too much sugar for me or not. And so I was really, really paying attention to that, and I'm glad I did. So then later on, there was a really stressful situation at the YMCA where I was working, and I was in charge at this point of the health and fitness department and all of the land and water aerobic instructors. And there was one instructor that kept doing things in the classes that were not recommended by the lead trainer. And so then I had to do some discipline, and then she riled up all of her class members and told them that management was trying to silence her, trying to control her. And so then they all complained to the director of the YMCA about me, which I was just following the other lead, the lead instructor was the trainer, like the lead trainer in all of Oregon for water aerobics. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to listen to her. And so then I felt like there were all these senior members, because mostly senior water aerobics classes, that this one lady was teaching, that they were all thinking I was some kind of evil villain. So I was like super stressed out, and then I got an ulcer, and after 6 weeks the ulcer wasn't going away. So I was seeing my nutrition response specialist at the time, and she was the one that had like really transformed my thyroid health and my adrenal health, and it was amazing. And I recommend nutrition response testing if you can, if you have a practitioner in your area. It's really remarkable how effective that can be to transform specific health issues. So highly recommend that. But like I was testing fine. I didn't like need anything different necessarily, and so I was supposed to call her after a few days of being on the new program, and I still had an ulcer, and she said, okay, experiment with cutting out bread. And I was like, oh crap, I don't want this to work. Because I was like making sandwiches for myself every day, and it was like convenient for lunches, and then also it was fun to look forward to. And I stopped eating bread. 2 days later, I felt fine. I didn't have an ulcer anymore. And so I was like, crap. And I realized that it wasn't necessarily causing the ulcer, but I've known that I'm sensitive to grains. Grains, yep. So it was enough of an irritant and enough of a challenge for my body that I couldn't heal from the ulcer. And so, like when I was talking earlier about sometimes we're taking in toxins, sometimes what we're eating is toxic to us, but at really mild levels, so we never realize that there's something that we're consuming that actually doesn't benefit us, that isn't for optimal, for our optimal good or performance or whatever. So, and I realize that I'm really extreme because I've had to be in one sense, but also because I'm really passionate about feeling the best I can possibly feel. And so some people that I've talked to and some of my clients would rather eat the thing that they know is giving them problems and enjoy that food than feel perfectly. And that's their choice. That's totally fine. But after a childhood, first 22 years of my life feeling horrible, and then, not experiencing a normal amount of energy until I was 27, I don't want to spend any more of my life feeling subpar. No matter how good the food tastes, I want to feel excellent, and I want to see how spectacular my health can be. And I've noticed it's not been this way in the last couple of years, but in the past, if I had pizza, I'd have acne on my face within like 3 to 5 hours. So everything was really, really fast acting. And I can usually tell when something's not great for me right away. Nadi says, I needed to be gluten-free for some time. I understand what you mean. I also had a moment of insulin resistance. Okay, interesting. Let's see, Lori says, that's me with the Go Macro bars. I didn't feel any better when I didn't eat them, so I always go back. I wish not eating them would make me feel better. So, I mean, maybe, I don't know if the ingredients is remarkably different from what you normally eat. Or maybe you need to give it some time, or maybe it's more subtle. Sometimes it's hard to know for a little bit, because like if there's a radical change that you're expecting, it may be it may take going a few years where most of your cells have been replaced before you notice something. So that's where it's tricky, and that's where I feel like the actual balance comes in. Pay attention to how you feel, and if the issues that you're dealing with are severe enough where you're willing to do an experiment for a couple of years to find out, where you think, okay, logically, reasonably, I can reason out that maybe this is not best for me, and I'm going to make these big changes. Like, I've totally transformed what I eat. I've been making my own meals for the most part for a couple of decades now, and I've meal prepped and all the things. But what I prepare is so different now than what it was along the way over the years. So yeah, so it is tricky. So this can be confusing because people have different things that they get dogmatic about what's good for you, what's bad for you. And it is important to stick with sound science, which that can be confusing to figure out what that is. But then also reason it out, like use your discernment, use your intuition, and then listen to your body and see what you feel like is going to make the biggest difference for you. And I'm trying to figure out like the right flow with this, but so for the longest time, the government decided that fat and cholesterol were enemy number one. And that's been clearly disproven. And the government and all the agencies admit that that's not the case anymore, that's not true anymore. We actually need fat. Cholesterol is the foundation for every hormone in the body, and every hormonal transaction requires more cholesterol. You cannot get what we call high cholesterol from cholesterol. That's an impossibility. And you actually get high cholesterol from sugar and from not moving your body. So, natural fat has fat-soluble vitamins that we need, and some of the nutrients that we need come from the fat. There is not a strong physiological need for carbs. Carbs are energy, and you can get energy from carbs or energy from fat. And up to 60% of all the protein you eat automatically gets converted into carbohydrate within the body, by the body, for use of energy. So there's not a strong need for carbs in the body, but there is a strong need for fat and a strong need for protein. Protein is made up of the 20 amino acids. Every single cell in the body, the second ingredient after water, are amino acids. So you're literally made, all of your cells are made of amino acids, made of protein. And the protein in animals and the protein in fat, or in plants, are very different as far as how bioavailable they are. Protein in animal has the same ratio of amino acids, of the 20 amino acids, like which ones need to be high, which ones are high, which ones don't need to be as high, which ones aren't as high. It's the same as the human body needs. And plant protein has about half of the essential amino acids, the amino acids that your body cannot make. It has to have come in through food. So not only do you need twice as much plant protein to get the same benefit, but plant protein is not as bioavailable, which means your body has to work a lot harder to get the nutrients out of it. Part of it is because of lectins, and if you haven't looked up lectins, then there's a lot of interesting things about that. And then oxalates, which are basically little crystals. And not everyone is sensitive to oxalates, but they don't dissolve even if you cook them. They don't go away. They kind of stay stuck in your system and are treated by your body as a toxin. And my mom has kind of spearheaded the research on this, and my mom's name is Sally, and then the expert she found is Sally K. Norton, and she has a degree in nutrition, and then suffered these extreme illnesses. So the oxalates, you're asking what foods have oxalates? So I think that's what you were asking. Certain vegetables actually are high in oxalates. So if you find Sally K. Norton's website, which is sallyknorton.com, and she has a list of symptoms, nerve irritation and dysfunction that are related to oxalate sensitivity. So if you experience any of these, then this is something that you may want to look into a little bit more. So unrestful sleep, neuropathic pain, poor concentration, mental and emotional fatigue, mood problems, and other brain function issues. So not that the oxalates are the only cause, but they may be. dropping things. Sometimes oxalate poisoning can affect motor nerves. And then light, noise, tooth, or skin sensitivity, carpal tunnel syndrome, cognitive or mood issues, and then inflammation, autoimmune issues, thyroid problems, fatigue, rashes, and skin problems, and then digestive issues, urogenital problems, like needing to use the restroom all the time, and then mineral deficiencies. So those are some things that was a huge surprise to me, because I was including a lot of those high oxalate vegetables at every single meal. And I didn't realize that I was giving myself issues with that, because I was having them even with breakfast. So so that's something to make note of. So basically, looking at how do you move toward a more permanent dietary routine that's going to optimize your health in a way that feels good. So we talked about this a little bit before, and it's totally worth reviewing. So I've got 5 steps that I've practiced over the years for fine-tuning my nutrition in a way that doesn't obsess over calories, calorie counting, and tracking, even though that can be really beneficial if you're in a mental, emotional place to do that. So simple nutrition changes for positive, moving in a positive direction. So first, take a look at when and what you eat during the day. Just looking at what is. It's hard to know what needs to be corrected if you don't know what's actually happening. Be as honest as you can. It can't be worse than it is, and you are already the result of your routine. So just with grace and compassion, look at what you're already eating. Highlight the areas that need improvement for your health results, or highlight the areas that don't align with your goals, or that you know don't align with your goals, because some of it is experimentation. Don't let it discourage you. Simply highlight the things that you would change and rank them in order of their priority. When thinking about priority, consider what would be the easiest as well as what would be the most important. Make changes that are easy first. Making changes that are easy first will give you some forward momentum. Net Diary food tracker app. It helps me see. That's awesome. Yeah, perfect. That's awesome. I've not actually heard of that, so that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. I've most often used MyFitnessPal, and I know there's some other. I think Calorie Tracker is one, but Net Diary, good. And then once you've listed out what your routine is, and then you've highlighted the areas that might need to change, choose 1 to 3 areas or meals to improve. It can be discouraging to experience slow progress, but it's far more discouraging to fail. Only take on as much as you can. You can only take on as much as you can realistically in your schedule. And it's better to start with fewer changes than more. Just focus on those few areas until they become a lifestyle for you. After consistency, repeat. Consistency over long term is usually more successful than dramatic change. If it's going to be sustainable, make small changes, keeping it simple and realistic. So one little step at a time so that you can continually move forward. The goal is not a radical temporary change, but a slow, consistent, steady change. Then, once you've decided what those few things are that you're going to change, make a shopping list. Don't shop hungry. Stay committed to your list once you're at the store. So stick to the list. Make sure that you only come home with the things that you want to come home with, and then be consistent with that. And then let yourself experiment and adjust as you go. Don't be more committed to your rules than your body and intuition. Sure, seek to be consistent so you can get accurate feedback, but be open to changes as indicated also. So your body should be your primary feedback tool as to what changes you make. And it's okay to experiment. I experimented one time when I was trying to figure out how to lean out, and someone suggested, eggs are an allergen, or can be, like one of the more common ones. And so I cut out eggs for, I think, 2 months, and no difference, didn't feel any better, and didn't achieve the goals I wanted. I know now that I was probably eating too much still, and I was eating too many carbs and not enough protein, and I needed to balance that out. But I've experimented. I still experimented with cutting out the eggs for 2 months, and realized I didn't need to. So I was okay to continue. And as soon as I increased the protein and increased the fat and kind of left off the last of the carbs, then that's when I leaned out the way I'd been trying for years to lean out. So listen to your body, watch the results, be consistent with it. Something on the fats, I don't know if you guys are eating some or consuming seed oils or vegetable oils, but that's been a conversation in the nutrition circles recently, is realizing that the vegetable and seed oils have 16 times the omega-6 as omega-3, and we need both. Both are valuable, but they should be about the same ratio. And so the fact that the omega-6 is 16 times the amount of the omega-3s is what causes the problems. So omega-6 is the fatty acid in the body that helps an inflamed site. That's where you get swelling if you have an injury, or you need to fight toxin or something. Then that's the fatty acid that comes in and helps the swelling actually happen, brings in more of the blood cells to the area so that healing can start. And then the omega-3 is the anti-inflammatory that helps disperse all those blood cells that have gathered so that the swelling goes back down after there's no more need for the swelling. So having a balance of both is important, but having 16 times the amount in the vegetable seed oils, that causes problems, and they're finding more and more things that problems that is linked to. So and then sugar is in some studies shown to be as addictive as cocaine. So the sugar is calories, energy, which is not bad, but just does not have nutrient density to go with it. So you're getting just calories without nutrients. And so it's important to get more nutrient density. So Lori says, oh good. Sally says green peas are good. Awesome. I've been adding a lot of peas to my meals this week. That's fun. Awesome. Yeah, so that would mean that peas are a low oxalate food. And I was just listening to something by her, and I actually might share a interview that I just listened to. So I'll share the link in the notes. But she is such a knowledgeable expert on this, and she's transformed her own health through the changes she's made, and now she's a coach to others to do the same thing. But she was talking about lettuces are generally low oxalate. So so having a salad is going to be mostly okay. So what about natural sugar like honey, maple syrup, agave nectar? So the honeys, I know if you are eating some honey, if you're including some honey, you hate salads. Okay, well, sorry I couldn't be more helpful. So if you're eating honey that is from the local area, that the local bees harvesting from local flowers and stuff, that can actually really be helpful for allergies and things like that. So having a little bit can be medicinal, but it's not necessarily like an important nutrient beyond that. But yeah, it's not necessarily bad. I don't think there's like it's not. And same thing with fruit. Fruit has compounds that like slow the digestion, so you're not going to get as much of a sugar spike. Most people, I can't have fruit still, but it's not going to be as bad for most people. Let me see. It was something okay. So Dr. Lustig, and I'm not extremely familiar with him, but apparently he's like a very frequently cited researcher. And so that means a lot of scientists value what he has to say. Says that there are no biochemical processes in the body that require fructose. So that's specifically the type of sugar that's most common in fruit, but it might relate to the other sweeteners as well. So they're going to be better, have a little bit more nutrient density than straight sugar, and especially inorganic sugar and non-sugarcane sugar, but still you might feel some improvement by not having as much or whatever. Like I don't know how much you have currently, but so that would be a better option. So but yeah, again, listen to your body, because like your body is going to guide you in the journey. There's things that we know from science and experimentation and from people's testimonies, and then there's like the application to yourself. So if someone has had solid, some serious health issues, and those health issues got better, like for Sally Kate Norton, then I would listen to what she has to say and value her opinion. Where someone else, never really had any health issues, but now they eat this certain way, like there's not really any evidence to show that they, that might work for you also. But yeah, so gather your research, gather your data, look at studies, look at what's worked for people, what hasn't worked, and then based on your own knowledge of your body, figure out like what you want to experiment with, and then really track how you feel and what improves and doesn't improve as you play with it. So last thing I want to share, in the late 70s, early 80s, there was these declarations about cholesterol and fat, and I did mention this a little bit, but I have some specific data here. And so since then, Americans reduced cholesterol intake by 30% because they believed that led to heart failure, heart disease. They reduced red meat by 33%, increased fruits by 30%, and increased vegetables by 40%. And so if they were related, like, our health should have improved as a nation with those big changes. But obesity rates, heart disease, stroke rates, and cancer rates have tripled since all those changes. Type 2 diabetes, autoimmune disorders, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and other disorders like autism have all increased exponentially at the same time. So that's just kind of another, when the food industry shifted from avoiding fat, it shifted to increasing sugar. So anything that has on it, low fat, is probably high in sugar. And so, and then there was the shift away, because like almost all the restaurants and the fast food and everyday people used animal fat in their cooking. And so then there was a complete shift from animal fat, which is more balanced in its nutrient content, to the vegetable, the seed oils, which has 16 times the omega-6 as the omega-3. And so then we've got all of these health issues that have come up in that exact same time frame, including more Alzheimer's. You do like cooking with lard. Okay, yeah. I've been trying to find tallow, and none of the stores in my area sell it, but yeah. So I know that this subject is tricky and can be emotional, but I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me and going through it together. And I do want to say that even though I eat meat, I want animals to be well cared for, and I do believe that we should transform our animal agriculture industry. But as far as like environmental concerns, the agricultural industry itself is there was a graph from the government reports, but is at least twice as much environmental impact as grain-fed cattle. And the only thing that they studied was grain-fed cattle, because grass-fed cattle don't really have much of an impact. And grass is what cows were meant to eat anyway. And then the biggest environmental impacts are transportation and electricity. So looking at all of that, if we want to make big changes, which I am passionate about, making the planet healthier, making humans healthier, making the earth healthier, restoring topsoil and all the things. It's so important to look at the big picture of everything that's going on. So our health will improve as the planet's health improves. So hopefully all the changes that we make are good for not just us, but for everyone and the whole planet. So candlelit dinners over grass-fed steak. Got it. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So, so thank you for being here. If there's any other specific issues or questions, feel free to post in the group, post in the comments, send me a message, and we'll talk about it. And I'll keep you posted on all the book progress and when it's close to printing, and when I'm unrolling or rolling out my new coaching offerings. So just keep you posted, because I know that you guys are supportive and all that. So appreciate that. So love you guys. Have a great rest of your day and week, and let me know if you need anything. Talk to you soon.